A word from our sponsors. Let's be real. Planning across linear, CTV, and digital is no small feat. Targeting, buying, optimizing, measuring, it's a lot. That's why Nexen built Nexen U as an online course led by agency and publisher experts who are deep in the converged space every single day. They're here to help you get it right. Their biggest module yet, media planning and activation. It's now live and packed with expert tips, campaign walkthroughs, and a certification badge to prove your skills. Start learning today by going to u.nexen.com. Again, that's u.nexxen.com.
This podcast is brought to you by AudioHook, the leading independent audio DSP. AudioHook has direct publisher integrations into all major podcast and streaming radio platforms, providing 40% more inventory than what could be accessed in omnichannel DSPs. What's more, AudioBook has full transcripts on more than 90% of all podcast inventory, enabling advanced contextual targeting and brand suitability. AudioHook is so confident that in addition to CPM buys, they offer the industry's only pay-for-performance option, where brands can scale audio and podcasting with peace of mind knowing they are only paying for outcomes. Visit audiohook.com to learn more. That's audiohook.com.
The industry must be recouping from Cannes because the news cycle has been relatively quiet this week. And for that, I thank you all. I'm Kait with Marketecture, and this is The Refresh, your weekly download on what went down in advertising. This episode is sponsored by FreeWheel. Many thanks to them for their continued support. Today is Monday, June 30th, and this week we're covering the FTC greenlighting the Omnicom-IPG merger, what's up with CTV, hint, it's not CPMs, and the darker side of Cannes. So let's get into it. Starting out with the FTC giving its official blessing to Omnicom and IPG's union, which is valued at about $13.5 billion. The merger has been under scrutiny from both the industry and the FTC since its announcement. While original scrutiny from the FTC was rooted in more traditional antitrust concerns, the deal would merge two of the four largest advertising holding companies. It quickly evolved into antitrust concerns that were more politically motivated. The merger could undermine competition in terms of where media dollars were being invested and, as a result, which publications were being funded. More specifically, enabling coordinated efforts to boycott or move investment from publisher sources that support or facilitate certain political or ideological views. The FTC's director of the Bureau of Competition, Daniel Guarnera, said in a statement following the formal approval of the deal, coordination among advertising agencies to suppress advertising spending on publications with disfavored political or ideological viewpoints threatens to distort not only competition between ad agencies, but also public discussion and debate. So what convinced the FTC to finally allow the deal to move forward? A consent decree, or a court order that formalizes an agreement between parties. Here's a quick rundown of what that agreement entails. For starters, no coordinated ad boycotts. Omnicom and IPG cannot coordinate with each other or other ad agencies or groups to boycott media platforms based on political or ideological content. This also means they're not allowed to direct clients to participate in a boycott. On the other hand, individual client choice is preserved, so clients are still allowed to make their own decisions about where they want to advertise. Another criteria of the consent decree is that no third-party exclusion lists that are based on political or ideological viewpoints can be used to direct ad spend. However, in the theme of client choice, clients are allowed to create their own lists. A final component of the agreement is that Omnicom and IPG have also been removed from the FTC's ongoing investigation into broader industry-wide ad boycotts. From everything I've read, a lot of the text of the consent order seems a little murky, especially when it comes to how political or ideological content would be defined. When it comes to compliance, this could create either loopholes or sand traps. It really just depends on how the FTC chooses to enforce it, especially from administration to administration. That said, since clients retain control over deciding where their media ultimately ends up, compliance may rely on establishing specific processes to ensure that teams and clients are staying above board. This could include explicitly communicating to clients that they need to be the ones calling the shots and giving direction when it comes to their media investments. There will also be a greater burden on them and their media teams to provide justification for why a specific publication wasn't included. All in all, the broader directive is rooted in not coordinating or colluding with other organizations within the advertising industry to explicitly boycott any given publication or media platform. Basically, it's like when someone gives you a gift you don't like. You don't loudly declare it's hideous and get everyone to agree with you. You just smile and nod while silently plotting how to covertly get rid of it. Immediately. The consent order will remain active for 10 years, while the FTC said they'll require the company to hand over related documents and file annual compliance reports for 5 years. Those compliance reports could end up being a time suck, pricey, and generally a pain in the behind. But both John Wren and Philippe Krakowski seem to think that this is a small price to pay, with John Wren specifically saying the company was delighted the acquisition would be moving forward. Hurdles do remain, though. The FTC's approval is provisional and subject to a 30-day public comment period and a final vote by the Commission. Meanwhile, regulatory bodies in the UK and Australia have opened the deal for public comment to determine if it violates existing laws. Next up, CTV inventory may be up, but CPMs are down. If you've been paying any sort of attention to the CTV space lately, this probably isn't a surprise. Midway through the year, buyers and sellers are reporting that CTV CPMs are down anywhere from 10% to 30% year over year. It's the first meaningful drop since streaming heavyweights like Netflix and Disney entered the ad market, and it's being driven by a mix of factors: an influx of inventory, data-centric, performance-oriented buys, and a growing focus on efficiency over premium exclusivity. Over the past year, major players across the industry dismantled much of the red tape that restricted broader access to premium inventory, causing supply to outpace demand. Amazon opened the floodgates in January of 2024 when they rolled out ads for all Prime Video subscribers, which includes anyone who subscribes to Amazon Prime. Since then, we've seen moves from major platforms like Netflix and Disney to establish more partnerships and integrations, a shift in focus to SMBs like Comcast's launch of Universal Ads, and legacy broadcast networks making more programming available on streaming services like we saw with Tubi airing the Super Bowl. Then there's the move to offering inventory programmatically, which often comes with more efficient and dynamic pricing. There have also been a lot of data partnerships and cleanroom integrations, enabling more precision in exactly who advertisers are reaching within any given buy. TV is no longer just a mass reach channel. It's evolving into a full-funnel, cross-platform workhorse that allows advertisers to assign and achieve valuable performance outcomes. Advertisers are sharper, more selective, and less willing to overpay as they gain greater access to better inventory, data, ad products, and measurement capabilities. CPMs across the board may be dropping right now, but I'm anticipating a significant pricing divide will occur between lower quality, mass reach inventory and premium inventory that is now being packaged up with data or curated to achieve a specific outcome for a specific advertiser. We may also see a different pricing model emerge for TV entirely. One that's based less on inventory's face value or how premium inventory appears to be, and more based on inventory's intrinsic value, what outcomes it's actually driving for advertisers, which could be derived from a variety of factors. So, should you buy the dip? As long as you recognize that costs within high-value opportunities will inevitably rise. And remember, in digital media, you always get what you pay for. Finally, our last story falls on the heavier side of industry news, but it's one that's important to not shy away from. Cannes Lions still has a harassment problem. The festival has yet again come under scrutiny for the safety and treatment of attendees, particularly women. Following multiple reports of sexual harassment and assault at the 2024 festival, including allegations made by students and industry professionals, Cannes introduced several new safeguards at this year's event. That included 3 dedicated safe zones, confidential spaces staffed by trained professionals and open 22 hours a day throughout the festival. These zones were positioned at the Palais near registration and across the Croisette, providing on-site triage support and, if needed, direct contact with local authorities. The festival also spotlighted local alert buttons, panic alarms installed across Cannes that connect directly to police. Event organizers also brought more visibility to their anti-harassment campaigns, including bystander intervention training. Despite these efforts, the festival's darker reputation and the harmful behaviors that characterize it have persisted. The reality is that combating behaviors like sexual harassment, especially at an event as large and spread out as Cannes, requires a much broader and greater depth of coverage. Concentrated efforts like safe zones and alert buttons are invaluable resources, but only event attendees themselves choosing to be vigilant can ensure that there are eyes and allies everywhere, so to speak. On a more positive note, awareness of these events and open dialogue about them didn't get left behind in Cannes. On LinkedIn, a few festival attendees brought attention to the persistent issues, creating awareness that otherwise likely wouldn't have existed, especially for those who didn't attend. A moment of appreciation for voices like Brian O'Kelly's, Mike Brooks, and Emily Roberts for their bravery in speaking up, and for the many voices that may have spoken up in more closed-off or private settings. Emily has also started a petition for change at Cannes. You can find that on her LinkedIn profile. For many, this is a sensitive and emotional topic that also carries an element of fear when it comes to speaking out. Will I experience backlash or retaliation? What if I say the wrong thing, publicly or privately? I'll be honest right now, even speaking to this subject in a more public setting is intimidating for me because I don't want to say the wrong thing or have my words or intentions be misconstrued or misunderstood. But we have to talk about it. In our workplaces, to our colleagues, to the people we trust, and the people we feel intimidated by. And not just surrounding high-profile events like Cannes, but on an ongoing basis. We have got to go to bat for each other, especially for those who are in positions of vulnerability. A rising tide lifts all boats, and that will never be more true than in this scenario. Industry news was light this week, but I know this conversation was far from it. I hope it gives you some food for thought and creates moments of reflection. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us for the refresh, and we'll catch you next week.